Our lecture for today is about epidemiology. So you can see here the definition. It is the study of the distribution and determinants of diseases, injuries in human populations. Right. In epidemiology, we make use of different numbers, okay, and we express them in what we call rates. Where this rate is actually the number of events, for example, can be birth, cases of diseases or deaths in a given population over a given period of time. So you can see here the three important things that we have to consider when we talk about rates. Number one is the event, number two is the group of people, and number three is the point in time. The rates enable one to compare outbreaks that occur at different times or different places. So there is one word here, which is outbreak. So that means that there is a sudden increase in the number of cases of a particular disease in a population or a particular place. So maybe you have also encountered some terms like endemic, which means that a particular disease exists in a particular place, or epidemic, when there is a sudden increase in the number of cases in a particular place. And of course, we are currently under a pandemic, which means that the one that is affected is not just a particular place, but the whole world. So these rates are based on the population who are at risk, those who are susceptible to diseases or death from a particular cause. Some examples of rates that we have is number one, incidence rate. So the definition is it is the number of new cases of a disease in a population at risk. So that means these are the population who are susceptible to a particular disease in a given time period. For example, the number of new cases of influenza in a community for a week. So that is incidence. So take note the word incidence rate only covers new cases. Prevalence rates are, on the other hand, calculated by dividing all current cases of a disease. So that includes the old cases and the new cases by the total population. Another rate is called attack rate. This is a special incidence rate that is calculated for a particular population for a single disease outbreak and expressed as a percentage. So that is, you multiply it by 100. Right, next, we also have what we call crude rates. And this is when the denominator includes the total population. Examples of these would be the crude birth rate or CBR or crude death rate, the CDR. So crude birth rate is the number of live births in a particular year divided by the mid-year population. You have to estimate the population of the community or the town for a particular year. The crude death rate, on the other hand, is the total number of deaths in a year from all causes, regardless of the cause, divided by the mid-year population. You can see here the formula. So the number of live births divided by the mid-year population multiplied by 1,000. So the numeral or the number that we use to multiply, so this is per 1,000 population. Okay, aside from those crude rates, we also have specific rates. Okay, for morbidity. So when we say morbidity, that means diseases, causes of diseases. And when we say mortality, that means the deaths for a particular population for particular disease. Age-specific death rates, these are examples the number of deaths for 15 to 24 years old. Okay, for example, divided by the estimated mid-year population for that specific age group multiplied by 100,000. So you can see that the multiplier that we use is different for every different rates, depending on the rates. So this means that for every 100,000 population, right? So diseases and health problems, this is still under epidemiology. So because in epidemiology, we talk about diseases and injuries for a particular group. Diseases may be classified based on etiology or the cause. For example, it can be caused by viruses, so viral diseases. It can be caused by bacteria, so bacterial diseases, right? So aside from that, we can also have diseases classified based on the organ or the organ system that is affected. For example, we have heart disease, kidney diseases, right? So muscle diseases, right? Or respiratory diseases. So that is how we classify diseases, right? Another one is whether they are communicable or non-communicable. When we say communicable, so that means that a particular disease can be transferred from one person to another. And for non-communicable diseases, the cause is likely lifestyle or other risk factors aside from microorganisms. So communicable diseases are generally caused by microorganisms, so there may be bacteria, viruses, fungi, parasites, right? Another classification of diseases is whether they are acute or chronic. So acute diseases are usually, this is in terms of onset. So we say that the disease is acute when it's sudden or of sudden onset, suddenly appears. But if it is there for a long time, like at least 6 months, we call it chronic disease, right? So the different possible causes or causative agents of diseases and injuries are the following. So these are biological agents like viruses, rickettsia, bacteria. So rickettsia are something like a microbe that is between bacteria and viruses. So they are more like viruses because they are small, but they have both DNA and RNA, right? So we have also fungi, parasites like protozoans and metazoans, right? So there are also chemical agents of diseases. For example, poisoning may be caused by pesticides, all right, or food additives, pharmacologics like medicines or drugs. And most of the time, these medicines are metabolized by the liver, and in the process, the liver and the kidneys may suffer. Industrial chemicals, for example, paints, so and also air pollutants, so vehicular emissions, right? So they may contain poisonous gases like carbon monoxide or carbon dioxide, cigarette smoke, and of course we know that there are many chemicals, more than 50 chemicals that have been identified to cause cancer, and they are found in cigarette smoke. Right, so also we have physical agents, heat, right? So when someone is exposed in heat, he may suffer from stroke, heat stroke, right? Or light, right? So like for example, harmful light like UV or maybe laser can be harmful to the eyes, can be harmful to the skin. Radiation, so radiation can be ionizing or non-ionizing radiation, Ionizing radiation, examples of that, there are many, many examples of that. For example, exposure to electronic devices like cell phones or laptops or television, right? Or copying machines, photocopying machines, many, many, many things, right? For the non-ionizing radiation, we have one example, ultrasound. So the ultrasound is harmless because it's mainly sound that is used for uh, diagnostic imaging. Also vibration. Vibration, it may also cause harm to our body, right? So speeding objects like, yeah, so trauma, in case of trauma, right? When you're playing, say, basketball and the ball uh, is passed over a very fast, okay, speed, so it may cause injury, physical injury. Right, so in the Philippines, the leading causes of deaths are the following: diseases of the heart, diseases of the vascular system, pneumonias, malignant neoplasms or cancers, many different forms of TB or tuberculosis, accidents, COPD, and allied conditions. Right. Also, diabetes mellitus, nephritis, nephritic syndrome. So that means kidney diseases and diseases of the respiratory system. Of those that were mentioned, 6 are non-communicable diseases and 4 are um, major non-communicable disease like cardiovascular disease, cancers, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, so that is a lung disease, and diabetes mellitus. Now, for the leading causes of morbidity, I have it listed down. Although this is an old data, they have not updated their information from the Department of Health, right? So it may still be the same though. Acute respiratory infections. So ito yung mga pneumonia-like infections, right? Acute lower respiratory tract infection and pneumonia, bronchitis or bronchiolitis. So take note that the top 3 are affecting the respiratory tract. Hypertension, number 4, right? Acute watery diarrhea, influenza, urinary tract infection, number 7, TB. So that counts as another respiratory disease, injuries, and diseases of the heart. So we should be wary of these diseases. Anyway, we will have a separate discussion on communicable and non-communicable diseases. Right. So this is just an introduction. A communicable disease is one that is spread from one person to another, so that is from person to person. And there are many ways by which we can transfer this infection. Right, for example, so when we talk about transfer, so that is the mode of transmission. It can be by contact with blood or body fluids, by respiration, by breathing, an airborne infection can be virus, bacteria, and by being bitten by an insect, right? Or maybe sexual transmission. So there are many ways by which we can transfer communicable diseases. Reporting of communicable diseases is very important in planning and evaluation of disease prevention and control programs, in the assurance of appropriate medical therapy, and in the detection of common source outbreaks. So in order to control the spread of communicable diseases, we are required by law to report cases of infections. That is why we know that currently um, cases of COVID-19 is being reported by different laboratories, by different hospitals whenever there are positive cases. Some examples of reportable communicable diseases are the following. Hepatitis. So there are many different types of hepatitis. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Right, so influenza, right, measles, okay, salmonella infection, typhoid fever, and other foodborne diseases or illnesses. And the last part of the discussion for today is non-communicable diseases. So they are also known as chronic diseases. They are of long duration, at least 6 months, as I've told you, the result of a combination of many different factors like genetic factors, physiologic factors, environmental factors, and behavioral factors. The most common types of NCD or non-communicable diseases are cardiovascular diseases like heart attacks. Heart attacks is also known as CVA. No, that's stroke, cerebrovascular accident. And heart attack is, I forgot, myocardial infarction. Okay, MI. Also cancers, we have to report different for cancers. Chronic respiratory diseases like COPD, as I mentioned. Okay, for chronic smokers and asthma and diabetes. So these diseases, we will talk about them in a separate discussion one by one. Thank you for listening. This is all that we have for today, and you may just continue. I'm going to process your letters. So I'm going to check and sign them today. And what else? You also have to show me a draft of the questionnaire from the information that I provided last time. Okay, and that's it. So hope you have a good day and you can produce these important documents. Bye.